all of us would not have been able to do what we do today without seeing someone that currently does that. And that's the issue. Majority of the communities that we come from and that look like us, there's not people like us there to show them the way, right? I think the pipeline problem is going to get much worse unless we start to shed light on it.
What's good, y'all? Welcome to Kickin Game, where we feature a new group of bright, influential tech, business, and entertainment leaders driving change in their respective spaces. We got a special group with us today, a former head engineer at one of the top up-and-coming companies in the transportation space, first product hire at Play Versus, an esports company changing the high school sports landscape, a tech community galvanizer, and a top engineer at revolutionizing social. Let's kick game.
Right. Hey, we're here in Los Angeles.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Beautiful Los Angeles. So you reside in Los Angeles currently, right?
Yeah, Santa Monica.
Y'all as well.
Same, yeah.
Where are you?
Oakland town.
Okay. And then you're in the Bay, right?
Yeah, I'm in the Bay Area. Yeah, it ain't look like that.
I think it's really interesting how we're all very integrated into the tech community.
Mm-hmm. In different ways.
In very different ways, man. You know, I'm really interested to know, how did y'all really get involved in tech? As Black men, it's like we're not supposed to be here.
We went to high school together.
Okay.
So I think we met, like 10th grade or something?
Yeah, maybe freshman. I don't know. We met early. We met in high school, and then met Mark later down the road. Actually, me and Mark used to work at Kmart together.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we used to be. Yeah, that was like, I used to be pushing carts and like in the snow and all types of shit. Like,
how times have changed.
Yeah.
And it's funny how things like come full circle, right? Because actually, I think my freshman year in college, Rodney and Dre were starting a company together called The Run. So like they really introduced me to like the tech ecosystem in Detroit. Yeah. So like, I probably wouldn't be here without meeting Rodney at Kmart, right? So it's crazy how those relationships build over time. Back in 2016, I was doing a fellowship called Code 2040, which they find the top performing computer sciences, Black and Latinx, and pair them with Bay Area companies. Through that program, I wound up being paired with Slack and being in the Bay Area for a summer. During that time, I wound up going to a bunch of meetups. One of them was an Ethereum meetup, cryptocurrency. Invested while I was at $8. Made a ton of money. Went back home.
Tons of money,
So went back home. Right. Yeah, man. Good timing. So I went back home and told my family, like, I spent the summer in the middle of tech. I made all this money and then wound up raising money from friends and family to like invest it on their behalf in cryptocurrency. And now that's manifested in we have a cryptocurrency portfolio as well as a public equities portfolio. So very involved in like tech IPO space. I also invest in companies. So I invested in a cryptocurrency startup called Safe. What they do is they build PGP encryption technology. That's where that is. Yeah.
You know what, now that I think about it, you did tell me about it, like Ethereum. You told me about it, but I was just like...
He thought you were shading him, man.
No, it was just like, a lot of people tell me about a lot of things. So I'm like, I'm looking at it like, okay, so that's $6. I'm not thinking nothing heavy on it. Then look up, what was it, like 6 months later, $40?
Yeah. I think Rodney has an interesting story of how he got into tech. I think he's probably been in the longest, like, out of everybody.
I'm the rookie and the vet, man. yeah. But nah, for me, it was interesting. Like, I started off being like a gamer. Like, I was always like playing video games. Like, and I started thinking like, how do you make it like a game? Like, how would you even do that? My friends started playing like online games, and one of the games they played was RuneScape. And so I would go online I found myself going online every day playing like RuneScape every day. I basically got addicted to this game, and it wasn't long before I was like, you know what? Let me just like look into like, I kept seeing like when it would load up, I kept seeing Java. Like every time it loaded up, it'd be like loading Java, and I just started thinking like, what is that? Yeah. And then I looked into it, and it was a programming language, and I was like, oh damn. Well, let me look more into this, and so I found a book called Teach Yourself Java in 21 Days. And so I was like hella excited about it. I'm like, oh, this is like dope.
So you were self-taught?
Yeah, I was self-taught.
Wow.
And so literally probably like 21 days, like it delivered on that promise for sure. And I got banned on RuneScape for some childish shit probably. I'm pretty sure it's some childish stuff. And I remember like just being like, damn, what am I going to do? And then I had this idea. I found out that you can make cheats with Java. So I was like, when I was in the forums, I was like, you know what? I was looking around and I saw like this script that allowed you to fight chickens. And so I took that, changed it up a little bit, put my own little like user interface on it, and then had it so you could type in whatever name it was. And then so you can fight any monster in the game. The people who own the forums, they saw that the product was getting used a lot. And they hit me up. They was like, "Hey, yo, you want to join this like new platform we're doing?" So I was working remotely for this.
How old were you?
I was 14.
Wow.
In 2 years' time, made close to just over $200,000.
It's funny because I remember you making a hell of money back then.
Yeah.
And I asked him, I'm like, what you into, man?
Yeah.
And he was so like secretive about it. He wasn't telling me, but he came to school with a brand new iPad. Brand new, and it was like the 3G boy. So it's like he didn't even need the Wi-Fi. Yeah. And I'm like, and it was a red case, it was a white, and I'm like, hold on a second.
Yeah.
I mean, growing up, I mean, already being very early in that space, I know one thing that I didn't have growing up was a tech mentor. Right, or someone in this community already that looked like me, that could help me out. You know, learn CS, computer science.
Most black folks don't.
Learn product. I ain't have none of that, and you know, I feel as if that's one reason I'm really passionate about career mentorship, because I think if you're a teenager, 14 years old, and you're trying to get into tech, you got a mentor named Bobby, named Brylan, and they're like holding your hand, saying, "Okay, you can do this." That's a game changer. So did you have anyone like that was kind of guiding you at that age, bro?
No, I wish I did, because it was just me. And to Dre's point, like people, like I was so secretive about it because I didn't know this is. I mean, you gotta imagine, like I'm 14, 15, making thousands of dollars. Like so, it's just like I didn't even at the time I didn't even realize like the what that even meant. So it was just like people would see and I tried my best to hide like what I had, but it was like at some point Jay was like, "You got a job?" I was like, "Yeah." So you got a job? You working, bro? He's like, I just go to the ATM 200. Hey, let's go over here. Like but now if I had a mentor, I would have been moving. Like I definitely would have been moving differently. I ended up in the right place at the right time, and I had the skill to leverage it, but I didn't fully know what that skill was. So if I had a mentor, things ended up ending, and it just so happened that the timing of this happened around 2008, 2009, and so we got lucky because I was able to have so much income that we were able to weather.
So you were taking care of your family.
Yeah, I was
at that age.
Yeah, I was, and so we were able to weather like that hard time.
So hold on. So building off of that, because I'm always curious about the obstacles that people had to overcome when growing up, right? Because obviously all the individuals here are doing some pretty amazing things. Yeah. What was the toughest thing physically or emotionally or mentally that you had to overcome while growing up?
Ooh. I think the toughest thing for me, like, so I grew up, my parents, it's interesting because, like, my dad was, like, in and out of prison when I was growing up, which is, like, I mean, I don't want to say the typical story, but, like, you hear about it a lot, especially, like, where I'm from. And also, like, my mom.
So, you're not from 9 Mile, right?
No. See, I grew up in Detroit. Like, I lived in Detroit, grew up in Detroit. Like, I didn't see a lot of white people when I was growing up. So, like, my dad being, like, in and out of prison or whatever. My mom also had, like, a drug addiction when I was younger. So just, like, seeing that and, like, being in, like, that environment really, like, shaped my mind and just, like, made me just, like, go into, like, an insane overdrive where it's just, like, I'm going to work as hard as I possibly can so that I never, like, have to, like, subject my family to this. And, like, that still is in me now. Like, that's why I'm just, like, people call it, like, being studious or whatever, but, like, that's why I'm that way because, like, I just can't, I can't go back.
So were you running away from a community or an idea of a community that you no longer wanted to be a part of?
Well, I think the thing is, like, so I had a really interesting life because, like, I grew up, even though I grew up in Detroit, like, I grew up in, like, the hood, quote unquote, right? My grandparents lived in the suburbs. So I was able to see both, right? So I saw, like, what it meant to be in the hood, what it meant to, like, be in Detroit, but I also saw what it meant to be in the suburb, right? And, like, when you see both, you like, oh, I want the suburb life. Right. Like, when I found out about Harrison, like, I was like, what? Like, yo, like, there's this high school, like, there's other cultures here, like, there's Indian, like, it sounds crazy, right? But I had never seen that before. Yeah. So I would catch the bus literally from Detroit to Farmington Hills just so I can go to high school. Like, I lied about my address and everything because I knew, like, I needed to be surrounded by other people, other cultures, like, if I was going to get out of this.
I think it's two ways to look at it. Because there's sayings where if the door doesn't open, then that door is not for you. Right? So that's one hand. And there's the other hand is the door doesn't open, find a way to get in it. Right? And so it's kind of a two-tone approach. I feel like life is about signals. Right?
What you mean by that, bro?
Yeah, let me hear more of that.
So when you think of going back to school, or you're working at said company, or you're doing said thing, you're putting a signal out there that you want people to be able to consume, right? You want them to be able to take this in. Is a company that's not going to take me when I have said skill sets and I have, all the parameters that necessary to get in, not going to take me. Maybe that signal, maybe that door is not my signal or not my door, right? Yeah. That doesn't mean that what you're doing or what you're passionate about is that you stop. You continue to do that, and life has a way of kind of guiding you things, right? And there's these quotes that, post on IG and stuff, and it's like, y'all better stop thinking that everything's a coincidence and realize that you got power.
I think people need to be intentional about the communities that they're a part of, right? As brothers, we're sitting right now talking. I'm a part of y'all's community, but y'all are innovators. And I know y'all from afar, and I know y'all intimately because y'all are doing things to push the culture, the industry forward, right? And I'm intentionally a part of this, right? And I think for me, the reason why I got into tech was because I already know where tech is going to be 2030, 2050. I'm trying to be a part of this community. Like what? Like I'm not, because more importantly, because if I'm a part of this community and I'm going to be in it in 2030, I can give back to the community I came from.
No, straight up, yeah.
And see, I think that's very important because what is it like? Obviously, the tech diversity statistics right now aren't the best for any of the big companies or companies in tech, and part of that is just because of systematic, issues impacting the U.S.
And is it all yeah, definitely true. And then to also say that there's, a number of companies out there, what is stopping folks that we know that work at other companies that, are doing well, that are smart, what have you, from being in the tech space, right? Is it because, is it the access and not knowing? Is it not having someone that can be your sponsor that can kind of pull you in? And so I'm curious to know, obviously being that I'm in the tech space now and at my second company, so I was at Amazon, now I'm at Google. And so understanding and knowing how I got in those spaces and what skill sets I bring to the table, I'm interested to see how we can help bring other folks and foster this community where folks don't look at these tech companies as these big silver balls that are unattainable, but rather what can I do to be a part of that group over there?
I think that there is limiting beliefs within our culture. A lot of people who come from the hood, a lot of people who haven't really been a part of the tech community or haven't really been in the industry before, from the outside looking in, they're like, this is not the space for me, just because I've never been around a black billionaire, right? Or an Elon Musk, right? I've never even talked to him. So there's this already immediate limiting belief within that, man, I could never reach this. Even if I do get a CS degree, it's like I'm never going to be top of the line, an innovator. But honestly, one thing I always encourage people is that, look, everyone's a visionary. Everyone can create. So rid yourself of the limiting beliefs. And more importantly, the other thing I think it is social capital, right? Really understanding how to hustle and network in the right circles.
Yeah. And then utilizing that political
and utilizing that social capital. Yeah. To be able to put yourself in certain positions, you have to really be, gung-ho about it.
So I'm gonna build on that too. On the surface, it looks like an issue of it being a pipeline problem, of it being access, but really it's obstacles. And what I mean by that is all of us would not have been able to do what we do today without seeing someone that currently does that. And that's the issue. Majority of the communities that we come from and that look like us, there's not people like us there to show them the way, right? So the challenge becomes, because the system has been built fundamentally, if you look across any industry, there's not many of us going into many of these different industries. Most of us still work these really basic rudimentary jobs that in all honesty are going to be obliterated when AI comes around, right? Like, so we're talking about a very, to be honest, I think the pipeline problem is going to get much worse unless we start to shed light on it and start to show that, yeah, this is the tech industry, but the tech industry is made up of computer scientists. It's made up of data scientists.
But more importantly, it's made up of people who are creative thinkers.
You
know what I'm saying? Because we're moving towards a future where you got to be creative.
We have to remove the labels.
Yes, people who are people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I agree with that, and I agree with like the visibility. I feel it's a responsibility personally as I continue to grow in my career. I feel like I'm just at like the beginning stages, but I do start to feel like a sense of responsibility to make myself available, to make myself like visual so people can see me, people know me, people understand like what I'm doing. Like when I got into product, I didn't know a single black product person, like a product manager at all.
Correct.
Like not one.
You're the only one I know.
Yeah. Like, what about me? I didn't know none. Right? But the only reason why I got into it because I realized like, hold on a second. So product managers, like, they have a lot of influence. The product managers like really has an impact on like my experience. And I'm like, hold on a second. Like, I want to have an impact on other people's experiences. I want to build experiences for my people.
And so, speaking on that, like, I think it's interesting. So when we talk about the diversity issue, the people that are writing the code for these products or for these companies, they're writing it with their own bias, right? And so, when you think about writing it with their own bias, like, how different could it potentially be if you have someone that has a different perspective and a different bias that they're existed with, right?
Yeah. To your point, Bobby, I think one of the biggest things that I always have a gripe with was, we're all in engineering and product, right? In some way. And before I got into doing product management in my prior role with Microsoft, I was trying to get into product at one of the top tech companies in the world, but I was being faced with adversity because I didn't necessarily have a computer science degree, right? But I knew I could do product because product is a matter of solving problems and being able to work with people. I knew my skill set, so it was really troubling to me the adversity I was facing because I think there's all of these systematic biases, at some of the top tech companies in the world in which there's this assumption that you have to go to a certain school, have a certain pedigree in order to, get that role. And I don't think that's true. But what if we were living in a future where the top product managers at some of these top companies all look like us, right? Latino, right? We're a mix of cultures. What kind of products would be out in the world now? And I think that's something for us to think about.
No, it's definitely something for us to think about, right? Especially as we move into this world of AI and machine learning, right? Because if a company does not have a wide range of diverse perspectives from different communities and different viewpoints, that influences the choices made around the collection of that data. Because the collection of that data is then influenced, it inherently has biases. Now, when you start to turn that towards problems such as how does machine learning apply to policing? How does machine learning apply to job applications? Things that have inherently been set up over the course of years and excluded people like us from the table or led to, really statistically significant results where we're being incarcerated way more. That's why we need a seat at the table. Because in order to change that, we first need to be able to get in that room. So I think that's why diversity is more than just being able to say like, oh, I have a certain percentage of, XYZ people working here at this company. It's once they're at this company, what you should optimize is for their impact. So therefore, it then is driving the outcomes that are obviously more tied to the business goals,
and
right?
decision-making abilities.
Correct.
What is it that we can do to help others see the light a little bit quicker than what it took for us to see the light.
I'm curious on what you
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, similar to what Dre said, like just making ourselves available, right? Like we're all people. At the end of the day, we all have been in that position where we're trying to figure out what we want to do. So like making ourselves available, like sharing our story, and then like giving our contact information out. So just let me know if you're interested in the space. Let me know, and if I can't help you out, I can point you in the right direction, or introduce you to someone who can. Like really being open, because I mean, at the end of the day, we're all gonna go much further together, right? Much further when we're all helping each other out. So I say that's the big thing. And then also giving back, like creating awareness. When I was in high school, I was making music, right? Like I didn't think I would be a software engineer. But like similar to what we were saying about like every step is there for a reason, right? Like if you think about it, making music, you start with a dope idea in your head and then you try and build something and show all your friends, right? Same thing with software engineering. You're exercising the same skills. So like I would just say like create awareness and like how the skill set you're building right now can be used, in tech or in that space that you want to be in.
So I'm gonna build on that. I'm gonna build on that too, and say, in addition to building your own platform, I think one of the simplest things that we could do is we can tap into overexposure. We need to overexpose what we're doing, which is obviously part of the goal of what we're trying to do here with Kickin Game. But furthermore, I think being able to leverage two things that Tim, you brought up and Bobby brought up. Mindset in sports. So if you understand the black mindset right now, as a black man, majority of the time, the only ways we see ourselves getting out of our current situation is either through sports or through entertainment, with it being rap. Why? Because it's cool. It makes us feel like we're something. So how can we leverage that to make and see ourselves in a space where we'll feel empowered and feel like we're something? I envision a future where being an engineer, being a marketer, being a salesman, being an executive, a venture capitalist is as cool as being the next LeBron James. Yeah. It's as cool as being the next Will Smith, because that's what's going to end up changing not only the face of this country, but also the face of this planet, unlocking more innovation, not only for, black men in the African American culture, but also the world in general. So I think as black men, and I would challenge us all here, is what could you do to expose more people to what you currently do?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I'm really big on that. Actually, I share the same vision as you. It's like I see a future where like everything that we're doing in tech is more in pop culture, more cool, more like regular, normal. It's not anomaly. Right. Especially the young people. That's mainly the reason why, like specifically in the stories I tell, how I made this much when I was 16. And so like it's like, so when a 16-year-old sees that 14-year-old, 14, 16, 18, he's like, damn, I'm he's trying to figure out how that happened. That's what I'm trying to push, like long term. Because my thing is, I don't want to be knocking at the door anymore. I don't think it's necessary. I think we can do it. You know what I'm saying? Like I think we can do it. I think there's no reason for us to be knocking here and asking for all. I don't want to ask anymore.
What is one piece of advice, game, that you want to leave the people watching this with, that you hope empowers them?
I'd say you can't hit what you can't see.
What that mean, brother?
And so what I mean by that is, I think for me personally, like I wouldn't be where I am now if I didn't put a goal in front of myself and then hold myself to go get it. And so for me, what was really important in saying, okay, I knew I wanted to work in sports. At 13 years old, like I told my parents, I remember I was at the top of the stairs. My dad was like, if you don't make it to the NBA, what you gonna do? And like I sat at the top of the stairs, I'm like, I'm gonna make it. He's like, but if you don't, and I'm just sitting here thinking, I was like, well, I'm gonna manage the money to folks that don't. And then from there, like I just continued to like just be very diligent in what it is I was going after. And then now, like what I said at 13 happened when I was 24, right? So for almost 10 years, I was almost manufacturing what the goal was that I set for myself, and then I held myself accountable to it until I hit it. So summarize that: can't hit what you don't see. So you got to be able to put it up there and then work every single day to hit that goal. So with that said, we kick game. Cut. Yeah.